Government confirms date when workers and retirees will face bank account monitoring earlier this year. Labor unveiled the biggest fraud crackdown in a generation, aiming to staunch the flow of funds lost through criminality and mistakes in the welfare system. The Department for Work and Pensions has projected that the crackdown introduces stringent measures such as driving disqualifications extending up to 2 years for persistent benefit fraudsters who neglect repayment duties, alongside new powers for the DWP to seize funds directly from offenders' bank accounts. Additionally, eligibility verification will empower third-party entities like banks to highlight suspicious benefit claims. While the state pension has been explicitly excluded from these measures, 1.4 million older Brits claiming pension credit could have their bank accounts monitored under the fraud crackdown. The DWP has released 11 detailed fact sheets providing deeper clarity on the operation, safety, and supervision of these new measures. These fact sheets confirm the UK government's plans to roll out the proposed actions starting in 2026. These documents further elaborate on the checks and balances, reporting systems, and regulatory oversight designed to guarantee the appropriate, proportionate, and effective use of the powers. Official guidance on gov.uk notes. The government will begin implementing the bill measures from 2026. For the Eligibility Verification Measure, the government will implement a test-and-learn approach to ensure the new powers to tackle public sector fraud are being used proportionally and effectively. DWP and the Cabinet Office will continue to work with industry to implement the new measures, consult stakeholders on codes of practice, and publish guidance. The DWP is set to expand its capacity to gather information from additional third-party organizations, including airlines, to monitor if individuals are claiming benefits from abroad, which could breach eligibility rules, the Daily Record reports. Eligibility Verification Measure. It's important to be aware that DWP will not have direct access to the bank accounts of millions of people on means-tested benefits including universal credit, pension credit, and employment and support allowance. The DWP will work with banks to identify people who may have exceeded the eligibility criteria for means-tested benefits. The legislation only allows banks and other financial institutions to share limited data and excludes the sharing of transaction data, which means DWP will not be able to see how people on benefits spend their money. In fact, the fact sheet explains how banks and other financial institutions could receive a penalty for oversharing information, such as transaction information. It adds any information shared through the eligibility verification measure will not be shared on the presumption or suspicion that anyone is guilty of any offense. New DWP measures to tackle fraud. The new bill will deliver on the UK government's manifesto commitment to safeguard taxpayers' money, ensuring every pound is spent wisely and effectively. New powers of search and seizure, so DWP can control investigations into criminal gangs defrauding the taxpayer, allowing DWP to recover debts from individuals no longer on benefits and not in pay. Employment who can pay money back, but have avoided doing so. New requirements for banks and building societies to flag where there is an indication there may be a breach of eligibility rules for benefits, preventing debts accruing. All the powers will include strong safeguards to ensure they are only used appropriately and proportionately, including new inspection and reporting mechanisms. DWP will have a clearly defined scope and clear limitations for the use of all the powers it is introducing, and staff will be trained to the highest possible standards. The measures in this bill will enable the Public Sector Fraud Authority to reduce fraud against the public sector by using its expertise to take action on behalf of other departments against those who attack the public sector, better detect and prevent incorrect payments across the public sector through new information gathering and sharing powers, use strong non-criminal sanctions and civil penalties to provide an alternative to criminal prosecution and to deter fraud, improve the government's ability to recover public money through new debt recovery and enforcement powers, use new powers of entry, search and seizure to reduce the burdens on the police in the most serious criminal investigations, improve fraud management in future emergencies by creating specialist time-limited powers to be used in crisis management situations, building on lessons learned. During COVID-19, the Public Sector Fraud Authority will implement a test-and-learn approach when utilizing these powers. piloting different approaches and expertise to find the best way to tackle public sector fraud.